Hello everyone, good morning. Am I audible? Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's begin with the session. Okay, so in yesterday's session, we spoke about a very important topic. What is it? We spoke about something called as inheritance in yesterday's session, correct? So we understood what is inheritance, right? What is inheritance? It's a process of one class acquiring the properties from another class. A class which will give the properties is called as superclass, base class or parent class, and a class which is acquiring the properties is called as subclass, derived class or child class. And we also refer inheritance as is a relationship, and we achieve it with the help of extends keyword. Okay, and only variables and methods are inherited, whereas blocks and constructors are not inherited in Java. And we also saw the different types of inheritance, and we also understood Java supports only three types of inheritance, right? That is single level, multi-level and hierarchical, whereas multiple is not supported, hybrid up to some extent, that's it. Okay, so these are the few things which we have seen in yesterday's session. So in today's session, I will be talking about a small topic. Okay, that is nothing but what is the topic? The topic is something called as constructor. I mean, we spoke about constructors a few days back. No, we got the basic idea about what the job is. What is the job of the constructors? But now let me do one small program for you all, wherein you'll have clarity about this entire constructor topic here. Okay. Now, guys, my requirement is I have a class. Okay. Let me try to create a beautiful class, and the class name, imagine it is employee. What is the class name? It is employee. Open curly braces and close curly braces. For the clarity, I have a class called as employee, and each and every employee will have ID, correct? Each and every employee will have ID for sure. And then what I will do, I want to initialize that ID with the help of a constructor. So how will I initialize it? Class name and constructor name should be same. Open parenthesis close and open curly braces close. This is the job of a constructor. Okay. And then here the constructor, since I have to initialize the ID here, the constructor will accept a variable called as ID, right? So in this specific data, what did you understand? This is a local variable and this is a member variable. Okay, we know the difference between local and member. In order to initialize, okay, in order to point to the current object, I will always make use of this dot id equal to, I have to point to the local variable id. This also we have seen in previous session. Okay, now here what will happen, now what I'll do here is I will just create a couple of objects here. Okay, my execution will always begin from main method, we know it, right? So now let me just create main method wherein the execution will always start from. Okay, if you could closely observe here, okay, observe closely here, I am going to create an object. Employee E1 equals to new employee of. Okay, I am creating an object of employee, and I have to pass the ID of the employee explicitly. Why? Because the constructor will get executed during object creation. I have to pass the employee ID. So the employee ID is 10 here. So internally, what will happen over here? Internally, when I tell new, okay, when I tell new, an object will get created. When I tell new, what will happen? An object will get created with the address 111. Okay, and who is pointing to that object? E1 is pointing to that respective object, correct? And simultaneously, what is happening? Simultaneously, the variable, the non-static variable ID will get initialized to the default value 0, because the default value for int is 0. And simultaneously, what will happen? The constructor will get executed, and the ID value which I have passed is 10 as of now. Okay, so now internally what will happen is ID is nothing but 10. that is getting stored into a variable ID of the current object, because since local variables and member variable names are same, there is an ambiguity created. So therefore I'll tell this dot ID meaning the current object. E1 is the current object. In E1 object, the ID will get initialized to 10 here. Similarly, okay, I will create one more object. What is it? Employee E2 equals to new employee of, okay, open parenthesis close, open curly braces close, and the ID I'll pass it as 20. Again, internally, what is happening when I tell new, one object is getting created, and that object address is 222, and E2 is pointing to that respective object. Okay, and I have to store the non-static variable ID, which will get initialized to the default value 0. And simultaneously, what is happening? The constructor is also getting executed. It goes here. Okay, the constructor is also getting executed. And what is the ID I have passed here? 20. So ID is 20. That is getting stored into a variable ID of the current object, which is the current object E2. In E2, the ID will get initialized to 20 over here. Got the clarity? So in E1, ID is stored. In E2, ID is stored. So in order to print it, what will I do here? Simple, sir. You have to just write system.out.println and you just print the out data E1.id plus, and I have to make use of SOP. I have to just write it as E2.id. So I have to print the content. Will I get the expected output? Yes, I'll get the output as 10, 20 over here. Yes, output is valid. But here there is some small redundancy issue. See, I'm making use of multiple print statements here, okay, which is not a good practice. So I'll show it to you practically. I hope you all got the clarity about how is this initialization going to work like. Okay, now here under constructors topic only, okay, I will create one package here. Okay, under constructors topic only, I will create one package. Control N is the shortcut key, okay, for opening the new tab, and I will search for a package, and the package name is org, and I tell finish. So we have just already created a project by the name called as constructors, and I have created a package called as org. Now under org, I'll tell control N, and I will create a class called as employee. Okay, what is the class name? I will create a class name as employee. Okay, so now here, what did you understand? Okay, let us see here. Okay, so if you could closely observe over here, okay, if you could closely observe, there is a folder. Package org means there is a folder by the name called as org, and employee.java file, okay, is present in org folder, and we know what is a class as well. Okay, done. So now imagine each and every employee will have ID. Okay, each and every employee will have name, correct, and each and every employee will have salary. So what is happening over here? I have a class called as employee. So every employee will have three attributes. It will have many, but I'm just considering three, that is ID, name, and salary, and I want to initialize it with the help of a constructor. So how will I initialize it with the help of a constructor? Class name and constructor name should be same, open parenthesis close, and open curly braces close here. So if I want to initialize the ID, name, and salary, the constructor has to acquire the ID, constructor has to accept the name, and the constructor should also accept the salary here. And within the constructor, how will I point to the current objects variable, the instance variable? This dot id. I have to make use of this keyword. Why? Because the local variables and the member variable names are same. That's the reason. This dot id equals to id. This dot name equals to name, and this dot salary equals to salary. Got it? So I'm done with this entire process here. So what did you understand? Sir, we just had a simple class called as employee, sir, and I am just initializing those respective data with the help of a constructor. Now I will have my main method wherein the execution will always begin from, right? So now here I will just create a couple of objects here. See, employee E1 equals to new employee of. His ID is 1, Okay, imagine we'll write the employee name, whatever you name you want. You just write it as Dinga. Okay, the name of the employee is Dinga, and his salary is 1200.34. Okay, so this is the respective data. Similarly, I can create one more employee, employee E2 equals to new employee of, and his respective ID is 201. Name you can give whatever you want. I just give it as Guldu over here, and the respective salary is, you can just give it as 700, okay, 0.89. So that is his respective salary. Got it? So now here, okay, what did you understand, sir? One employee class, and every employee will have two or three variables: ID, name, and salary. And I am initializing during object creation itself. So when I create an object, simultaneously I am initializing those employee details. Correct? I am initializing those employee details. Now, in order to print it, how will I print it over here? So I have to write employee details. Okay, look at this process, employee details, and I will print the employee details in a beautiful manner. Okay, so how will I print it? Okay, just observe over here. Okay, I'll just print the employee details in a beautiful manner here. Okay, sys out. What am I supposed to do here? Sys out. I have to write employee name, employee name, okay, plus I have to write E1 dot name here, because that's employee one's name, right? Similarly, I have to write employee ID colon plus E1 dot ID, because I'm printing the contents of those respective objects here, right? So I have to tell sys out, and I'll tell employee salary. Okay, so here what am I supposed to do here? E1 dot salary. Great. I'm done with this entire process here. Okay. After I'm done with this entire process over here, I have to print employee 2 details also. Okay, it's not that I'm storing only one employee details. I have to store two employee details. So here what I'll do here is I will try to have one more employee details over here. So now when I try to execute the program here, observe the output. What will be the output here? Okay, so when I try to execute it, look at the output. In a beautiful manner I'll get. Okay, if you could closely observe here, see, employee details, employee ID, name, salary, employee ID, name. Oh, I'm so sorry, I have to print E2, okay, and E2 and E2 here. Okay, I'm printing both the employee details. So first is employee 1 details, and then it is employee 2 details. I have to print this E2, right? Now here there is redundancy, don't you think so here? If I have only two employee details, two employee objects, or two employee copies, I am making use of three print statements respectively. So how do I avoid it? If there are 100 employees here, will I make use of 100 times here? Will I may write this print statement 100 times here? Absolutely no. That's the major reason. In order to avoid it here, we generally come across a small logic. What is it? I will make use of a method. The method name is display. What is the method name? Display. Open parenthesis close, open curly braces close here. Okay. And now what is the job of the display method? To display the ID. So I will tell SOP. I can either write it as this dot ID, or I can also write it as ID. It works fine. And is there any return statement? No, the return type will be void. Now what happens, so when I tell, rather than doing this, okay, rather than doing this, when I create an object, the ID will get initialized to 10, and the non-static display method also will be present within the object, correct? Because the non-static methods also will be present within the object, right? So I'll create one object here. See, when I create an object, employee E3 equals to new employee of, okay, I am creating an object of employee, and I am passing the employee ID as 30. So now what will happen, when I tell new, an object is getting created internally, okay, with the address 333, and who is pointing to that object? E3 is pointing to that object. And once I create an object, the non-static variable ID will get stored. ID will get initialized to 0. Why? Because it's initialized. We have not yet it's declared. It's not yet initialized, and the constructor will get executed wherein the ID is 30. Okay, ID is 30, right? 30 will get stored into the current object, that is this dot ID, meaning E3 dot ID will get initialized to 30, and this is a non-static method, correct? Even this should get loaded within the memory here, because all the non-static properties should get loaded within the memory. And rather than telling e1.id, e2.id multiple times, I will just write e1.display method. So now when I tell e1.display method, what is happening? E1, employee 1 is calling the display method. I call the display method. So it is printing this dot id. E1.display meaning E1 object is calling the display method. So this will become E1. So E1.id is nothing but 10 here. 10 will get printed. Or else I can directly write it as ID. Okay, since there is no local variables present in this method, there is no confusion created. Right? You can just write it as ID, because E1 is calling, it will directly print the ID. But it is always a good practice to make use of this keyword. Similarly, when I tell e2.display method, e2.display method, who is calling the display method? Employee 2. So employee 2 is calling the display method. So who will be the current object? E2. E2.id is 20. Or else I can directly write it as ID also. Why? Because there is no local variables, no. So when I directly print ID, so employee 2 is calling. So I'm pointing to ID 20. Similarly, E3.display method. Okay. So when I call E3.display method, what is happening? Employee 3 is calling the display method. So this will become E3. E3.id is 30. Or else I can directly print the ID also. It will be printing 30 because employee 3 is calling. So 30 will be printed. Rather than making use of multiple print statements, I make use of a method who will do the job for me. Okay, I'll go back to the program. So rather than doing this, see, if I have so many employees here, what am I supposed to do? I'll copy the same program, guys. Okay, I'll copy the same program. Okay, I'll create one class in another another package called as employee. Okay, and I will do this process, entire process I'm going to do here. Okay, so here just observe what is happening here. Okay, so now I'll create one method called as void display. Okay, and he will be displaying the contents for me. Okay, so I'll go back over here. So I have to just write it as this, because whichever object calls the method, this object's details will be printed. Or else I can write it as salary only. Okay, so it doesn't matter because there's no local variables, no. So I can directly write it as salary over here. Okay, it depends. Okay, and then just over here I have to write it as e1 dot display method, e2 dot display method. That's it. Okay, so now when I execute the program here, look, am I getting the same old output? Yes, I'm getting the same old output only, but in a different manner here, but in a beautiful manner, I'm getting the output. So I'll just compare both the programs here, okay, so that you'll be having the clarity about this entire aspect here. Okay, just wait for it until I explain the code here once. Okay, see here, guys, this is the first example. Both the examples will give me the same output, but different way of doing it. Okay, different way of uh, uh, approaching it. In the first example, what have we done here? Okay, look at the LHS here. LH is nothing but I have a class called as employee. Okay, each and every employee will have 3 attributes, and I am initializing all the 3 attributes with the help of a constructor. I hope this is clear, right? Employee class, 3 variables, and I'm initializing all the 3 variables with the help of a constructor. Now what happened in the second half, I created an object. See, I created 2 employee objects, meaning 2 employee copies, 2 employee details. And therefore, if I want to print each and every employee details, I have to tell e1.id, e1.name, e1.salary, E2, E2, E2. So similarly, if I have 10 employees, E3, E4, E5, E6, E7, E8, E9, blah, 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 I have to make use of so many print statements. This is redundancy. Okay, it's a very, very difficult part, right? In order to avoid it, What did I do here? I made use of, I make use of a method. Okay. I just made use of a method here. See here, employee class. It had three attributes. See, two programs. It had three attributes. I'm initializing with the help of a constructor only. But what is that small enhancement here? I created one display method. Okay. Which is displaying the details for me. It is performing some task. Okay. Therefore, what did I do in the second half? I created two objects and I called those two methods here. When I call E1, this will become as E1 object. E1 details will be printed. When E2 will call, employee 2 details will be printed. So that way, you can easily print it. So now when I get it, I'll get the same old output only, but in a different manner. That's it here. Okay. So this, if you don't want this print statement, you can remove it and you can print it over here. Okay, so for a larger perspective you will understand. I hope you got the difference between both the programs. So just analyze the first half here. Employee class, three attributes, initialize with the help of a constructor. And then in the second half, in the main method, what did we do here? Each and every time I had to do those process explicitly. I had to do each and everything. I had to do explicitly. See, I had to print it explicitly. Got it? It's a problem. So just observe the output here. Just observe the output. See, employee details 101, 201, Dinga, Guldu, and respective salary. In the second instance, what did I do here? I just made it little efficient. How? I had an employee class, three variables, initialized with the help of a constructor. Now I will make use of a method who will do the job for me. I will have a non-static method here who will print the content for me, ID, name, and salary. So therefore, when I create an object over here, rather than printing it over here, I will call the method. Okay, once I call the method here, he will automatically do the job for me. Okay, so that way it becomes very, very easier here. Okay, and redundancy is avoided here. So that's the major reason I just wanted to tell here. So what is the job of a constructor? Constructor is a set of instructions used only for initialization and instantiation. That's it. Okay. Constructor is a set of instructions used for initialization and instantiation. During object creation and assigning the data, it is useful. But whereas methods is a set of instructions to perform some task, and the task can be anything. Here in my current scenario, the task is to print the details. Okay, display the details here. This is all about the constructors, methods, and variables. Variables are used to store some data. Constructors are used to initialize that data, and then the methods are used to perform some tasks. This is all about the difference between variable, methods, and constructors. Clear? Typically speaking, we can initialize the variable with the help of a method also, but not a good practice. And we can print the data with the help of a constructor also, but not a good practice. But it is specific for specific jobs here. Constructor initialize, method do some task. This is all about the entire process of having a constructor and how do we initialize them and display their content. Clear? So this is all about the constructors, guys. Okay. So anyone having any questions with respect to this here? Anyone having any questions with respect to whatever I discussed now, guys? Quickly tell me any questions. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Okay, I hope you all got the clarity about the first two programs over here. Okay, so redundancy, how do we avoid it? Just make use of a method. See, you can see live, you can see live on your screen here, wherein in the first example, I was, printing so many print statements, it's very difficult. Two employee details, so many print statements. Imagine you have million employee objects, so many print statements. No, here you are reusing the code, calling the display method, and it's reusable. Okay, that way it's efficient here. Okay, so this is all about the constructors topic, and we're done. Okay, now the next topic which we are going to discuss here is a very, very, very simple topic. Okay, so that is nothing but constructor overloading. What is the topic we're going to see here? We're going to talk about a topic called as constructor overloading. What is constructor overloading? Okay, Method overloading, no? Same. Here it's constructor. Okay. Same three rules we have to follow. Imagine I have a class A. Open curly braces, close. So if I want to have a constructor, the constructor name and the class name should always be same. A, open parenthesis, close, and open curly braces, close here. What is constructor overloading? The process of having multiple constructors in the same class but difference in arguments. I can have any number of constructors in my class, but if I do have multiple constructors within my class, I need to follow certain rules. If I do not follow certain rules here, then it will throw me an error. Okay, so this is what we are supposed to understand over here. Got the clarity here? Okay, so now let us try to understand what is constructor overloading. In a class, having multiple constructors is called as constructor overloading. But when I have multiple constructors, I need to follow certain rules, okay, to make it valid. Okay, the first rule is there should be a change in the number of arguments. If the first constructor is accepting one argument, okay, the second constructor should be different. Okay, it should accept something apart from one argument. Here it is accepting one argument. Imagine it is two arguments. Okay. Here it is accepting zero arguments. Is it valid? Absolutely valid. Here imagine it is string. Okay. So what did you understand over here? It is absolutely valid? Huh? Yes. Why? Because there is a change in number of arguments. Here the number of arguments are 2. Here the number of argument is 1. So there was a change with respect to number of arguments. Imagine if the number of arguments are same, there should be a change in the data type here. See here, imagine here, okay, there should be a change in the data type. So here I'll just write it as double B. So now is it valid here? See, number of arguments 2, number of arguments 2. Both the constructors are accepting 2 arguments, so it's invalid. But if the number of arguments are same, there should be a change in the data type. Here it is int string. Here it is string double, meaning there was a change in the data types here. In the first constructor, it was int and string. In the second constructor, it is string and double here. So there was a change in the data type of the arguments here. The number of arguments might be same, but the data type was different. What if the data type is also same and the arguments is also same here? Okay, so here it will be this way. See, if you could closely observe, the number of arguments are 2, the number of arguments are 2 here. See, A, B, A, B. So the number of arguments are 2 here. Look at the data type, 1 integer, 1 string. 1 integer, 1 string. Here, 1 string and 1 integer. So what did you understand here? Okay, 1 integer, 1 string. Here also it's 1 integer, 1 string here. Even the data types are same. 1 integer, 1 string, 1 integer, 1 string. But look at the sequence in which it is written. Here first it's integer, then string. Here it is string and then integer. So there was a change. See, int and string in the first constructor, but in the second constructor it was string and int. So there was a change in the sequence in which it is written. So this is called as constructor overloading. So it's just a 10 minutes concept because you already know what is method overloading. If you know method overloading, constructor overloading is very easy to understand. Okay. So just go back to my notes here. I've just had a couple of questions here. Okay. So what is constructor overloading? See here. The process of having multiple constructors in the same class but difference in arguments. Meaning once we have multiple constructors in the same class, we need to make it valid. In order to make it valid, I need to follow certain rules. What are the rules here? Change in the number of arguments or data type of the arguments or the sequence. Either of these one rule I need to satisfy. There are 3 rules. I need to satisfy at least one rule. Then constructor overloading will be valid. Okay, so this is what we are supposed to understand when it comes to the data here, right? So now here I go back to my Eclipse. I'll do it practically over here. I'll have a class. Okay, And the class name, imagine it is we'll take it as what can we take here? Okay, we'll take it as car. Okay, we'll take it as a class called as car here. Oh, car is already there. We'll take it as bike. Oh, bike is also already there. Okay, we'll take it as vehicle. Okay, done. So I have created a class called as vehicle. So now class name and constructor name should always be same here. Okay. Open parenthesis close, open curly braces close. Here it is accepting string brand, comma. Okay. Int fuel here. Int cost here. It is accepting string brand and int cost here. So over here, I will just accept the string brand here. Is this valid here? Absolutely. Why? The process of having multiple constructors is called as constructor overloading. But here, there is a change in the number of arguments. Okay. But look at the third constructor, it will give me an error. Why? Because the arguments are same in first constructor and second constructor. Okay, so therefore there should be a change in, if the number of arguments are same, there should be a change in the data type here. So here I will just have it as string fuel here. Okay, so here if I just understand, okay, so you got the clarity here. Here the number of arguments are 2, here the number of arguments are 2, but there was a change in the data type here, string and int over here, but here it is string and string over here. Got it? So this is what we are supposed to understand. Okay, so here in the first example and the fourth example, it's an error. Why? Because see, the number of arguments are same, number of arguments are same. Data type is also same, data type is also same. If the data type is same, there can be change with the sequence here. Okay, there can be change with respect to the sequence. So how will there be a change in the sequence? This is all about it. Okay, see, here it is string and int, here it is int and string here. This is all about the entire process. So what is constructor overloading? The process of having multiple constructors within the same class, but there should be change in the arguments here. First and second constructor, there is a change in the number of arguments. Okay. First and the third constructor, there was a change in the data type. The number of arguments might be same, but there was a change in the data type. And the first and the last constructor, number of arguments are same, data type is also same, but there was a change in the sequence, string and int, and then int and string, right? So this is all about it. In order to print it, you can print it in a beautiful manner. So you can write brand colon plus, you can just write it as brand. Okay, just a moment. You can just write it as brand. So that is up to our specification level. And then I can also write it as cost. Okay, and I can print the cost also that way. And how do you align your code? Control A, Control I, and here also string, and you can print the fuel as well. Okay, fuel type as well. Okay, I'm just trying to concat the data here. Okay, I'm just trying to concat the data. So here I can print the cost here. Okay, so here I can print the cost first, and then I can concat the cost, and then plus. Perfect. Okay, so now here I have created multiple constructors here, but when will those constructors get executed? Only when we create an object. So I can create an object either in the same class or another class, it doesn't matter. So here, common sense, if I create an object of vehicle v1 equals to new vehicle of, okay, I am passing BMW. Where will the control take me to? See, press control on your keyboard, hover on the constructor, click on the constructor. It is taking me to the second constructor. So now the common sense is, when I create one object, I can access only one constructor at a time. One object can invoke only one constructor at a time. So there are 4 constructors, meaning I should mandatorily create at least 4 objects in order to invoke all those 4 constructors, right? So therefore, I will create vehicle v2 equals to new vehicle of, and I am passing Okay, Audi. Okay, I'm passing Audi, and I'm passing the cost also. Imagine it is $4,500 or something, $45,000. Okay, done. So now here, if I just execute it, which constructor will get executed? Press Control on your keyboard. Over on the constructor call, it takes me to the first constructor. So that way, we are just supposed to understand the data here. Okay. Now we can also create, okay, vehicle V3 equals to new vehicle of, and here I'll pass 889, and here I'll just pass it as Suzuki. Okay, so now which one will get executed? The last one. Why? Because I'm passing the cost and the data here. And now when I try to print the last one, that is vehicle V4 equals to new vehicle of, brand I'll give it as Honda, and the fuel, imagine I'll just give it as petrol. Okay, so I should be able to access those respective content here. This is all about the entire process here. Okay, so now when I execute it, will I be able to access those data here? Absolutely yes. See, I am able to access all those respective content here. All those four constructors got invoked. Okay, and there's one more small hint I'll give you here. Okay, so what is that hint, sir? I will tell you. See, if I have a class, okay, if I have a class called as, okay, imagine it is pen, okay. So now here, when I tell pen P1 equals to new pen of, what did you understand over here? There is a memory location called as heap area. We know that, correct? Heap area is a memory location wherein the objects will get created. What is this? This is nothing but heap area where the objects get created. Now when I tell new, okay, now when I tell new, an object is getting created. An object is getting created with the address 111. And who is pointing to it? P1 is pointing to it. And simultaneously, the constructor also will get executed, right? Now, I can also create an object with the help of new pen or. Even this is a syntactically valid object creation. Here, when I tell new, what will happen here? An object will get created with the address 222. That's it. New meaning an object got created with the address 222. And the constructor will get executed. But there is no reference pointing to that respective object. See, P1 is pointing to that respective object, no, but here there is no reference pointing to that object. So this is an object here without any name here. So both are absolutely valid. I can either create an object like this, or I can have one reference pointing to that as well. So once I create an object, it will have some address. If I want one reference pointing to it, I have to make use of the reference variable who will point to that respective object. Or else one object will get created with address 222. Here there is no references pointing. There is no one pointing to that respected object because it's an object without a name. Okay. So this is what we are supposed to understand. See, it's not that you have to always create an object like this. You can directly make use of new vehicle. You know, you can remove this reference variable as well. It will absolutely work fine. See, both are absolutely valid here. Okay. It's just our understanding perspective. Okay. How good we can analyze and get the flow here. Okay. So this is all about the entire part. So now when I execute it over here, did I get the expected output here? See, I will be able to get the expected output same. Here, these two objects are with name. Here, these two objects are without name here. Okay. So up to our clarification level, we can understand and get to know the flow. Okay. So this is all about the entire process of constructor overloading. Okay. So this is all about constructor overloading. Okay, so we actually saw two concepts over here in today's session. Okay, so we just saw in the first part, how do we avoid redundancy, correct? How do we avoid repetition? But in the second way, we also saw constructor overloading. Okay, so this is what about the data here. Okay, clear. So there's one question, sir, can we create a no argument constructor? Absolutely yes. Okay, why can't we create it? Okay, where you want to create it in between? Vehicle, open parenthesis close. Here I'll write it as no argument constructor. Okay, created no argument constructor, right? Because its constructor overloading rules are satisfying. And then in order to invoke it wherever you want. You want to invoke over here. See, vehicle. I can directly create an object like this. Or I can also tell vehicle five or six, no? I'll tell 6 equals to, or else I can give any object name obj equals to new vehicle, or that way I can create an object. See, so that way I can create it in both possible ways here. Am I getting the expected output here? Absolutely yes here. Okay, so this is all about the entire process here. This is all about constructor overloading concept, right? Perfect. We can have a non-argument constructor or parameterized constructor based on a project necessity. Okay, so that's all about it. Great. Okay, so now construct which calls another overloaded constructor. Yeah, there's one question, very good question. Okay, so can I create an object, can I instantiate an object, meaning object creation, inside a constructor which calls another constructor? Absolutely yes. Okay, but there is a way of doing it. Okay, so that's my next concept here. That is nothing but constructor chaining. Okay, see here guys, what happened in this example, sir, there were 5 constructors here and I had to make it of minimum 5 objects here. But is there a possibility that there is a class, imagine there is a class called as A, and this has multiple constructors. Okay, this has multiple constructors. So this constructor should call another constructor. That is called as chaining concept, which we will talk about it in tomorrow's session. Okay, constructor chaining will be done in tomorrow's session, wherein you will understand how does one constructor call another constructor. Okay, so that process we'll understand in tomorrow's session. Okay, so this is all about the entire data here. Yeah, it's possible. Okay, how do we call multiple constructors? It's possible. Okay, great. Perfect guys. Okay, so we're done with constructor overloading as well. Okay, and now the last topic for the day. Okay, that is nothing but super keyword. Okay, what is this super keyword? I will tell you here. I will tell you here. Okay, perfect. So under org package, I will create a class called as father. Okay, and then I will also create a class called as son over here. Okay, and I'll have one more class called as main class. Okay, I'll tell you what is happening over here. What is this giving an error? Let me just check once. Class vehicle. Okay, got it. Okay, great. This was the last program which we did. Okay, so perfect, not a problem. Okay, so now here, what was I talking about? Father, right? So father, son, and the main class, right? So this is all about it. Yeah, let it be over here itself. Okay, now, so just observe over here, guys. Father has one variable. Okay, father has one variable called as age equals to 50. Okay, so there is a father class wherein there is a variable called as age equals to 50. Now I'll achieve easy relationship. Okay, I'll tell extends father. When I tell extends father, I have successfully achieved easy relationship. And then son also has a variable called as age initialized to 30. Okay, and there is one method void display. Okay, open parenthesis close, open curly braces close here. Okay, now so there is a method called as display method also, wherein even there, okay, there's a variable called as age initialized to 10. Now when I print that age here, what will be the respective output here? What will be the respective output is my question. So what I'll do here, no, I'll have my main method wherein the execution will start from. Okay, so execution will start from main method. I will create an object of son, and I will print s. Sorry, I'll call the method then. That would be better. S dot display method. Okay. So what have I done in this entire program? Let me tell it to you. Okay. So this I hope everyone understood over here. Correct. There is a father class and he has a variable called as 50. Age initialized to 50. There is a son class who has achieved easy relationship. Even Sun has a variable called as age initialized to 30. And he also has a non-static method display, wherein again there is a local variable called as 10. So now when I print that age, what should be the output? See, I created an object of Sun and I tell s dot display. Press control on your keyboard, hover on the method, click on that method. So the age will get printed here. So now here, just a moment, one moment. I'll just align it properly here, okay? Because I don't want that problem later, okay? So perfect, okay, great. Okay, so now guys, what should be the expected output over here? Okay, what should be the expected output over here? You have to just predict and tell me. Will it be 10? Will it be 50? Or will it be 30? What will be the expected output, guys? Think and tell me what will be the respective output. Okay, majority of you have told it is 10. Okay, majority of you have told it is 10. Okay, so now when I execute the program here, oh, just a moment, I have to place the cursor wherever the main method is appearing. So now when I execute it, I will get the output as 10. Very good. Why? Sir, whenever we have, okay, local variables, member variables, and the superclass variable name same, then always the local variables will dominate. So this is a local variable. So 10 will get printed. Now I want to print age. Okay, that is present in Sun. And this is the current object. So how will I make use of this part? So I make use of a keyword called as this dot age. When I tell this dot age, it's obvious that it will always point to the current object's age. What is it? 30. So I have created an object of Sun and Sun is calling the display method and Sun's age is 30. So when I tell this dot age, it will always point to the current object's age. But now there is one more requirement. Sir, I want to access the superclass age. So therefore, I will make use of a keyword called as super. Super dot, I will tell age here. So when I tell super dot age, okay, super means I am pointing to the superclass father. In father class, what is the age value? The age value is 50. So here 50 will get printed. So now when I executed, look at the output what I get here. See 10, 30, 50 here. Am I able to get my expected output? Absolutely yes. So what did you understand over here? Okay, sir, it's very simple. So when I just print age, it will point to the local variable. Where will it point to? It will point to the local variable. Correct? If I tell this dot age, it will point to the current object's age, that is 30. But when I tell super dot age, it is used to point to the superclass age, that is 50. Super dot age, superclass age here. This is about super keyword. Okay, what is the job of super keyword here? Super is used to access the superclass property. So you can either make use of super dot variable name. Okay, you can make use of super dot variable name, or you can also make use of super dot method name also. Okay, that we will talk about in method overriding concept. So what is super? Super is a keyword. That keyword is used to access the superclass properties. It can either be a variable or it can either be a method here. Got it? So this is all about super keyword. Clear everyone? Got the clarity? Perfect guys. Okay. So we are done here. Okay. So anyone having any questions here? Very good. Anyone having any questions in today's session? I don't want to do any more concepts here because whatever we did, it's slightly tricky. So I just want you all to practice it. Okay. So any other questions guys in today's session? Any questions anyone in today's session? Rest of you all are sleeping. Very good, very good, very good. Okay. And one more thing, okay. So people who are attending web classes and all, no? Okay. So try to learn web as well parallelly. Okay. So aptitude is going on, web is going on, and Java is going on. And soon I'll be starting with your programming classes as well. Okay. So make sure keep on practicing here. Okay. So that it would be very useful for you all. Okay. Probably, they're announcing requirements, okay, new batches, everything in apti classes and web classes. Okay, so even if you want, even I can tell you the upcoming batches, the placements, everything. So I'll just read out a couple of things here. Okay, so we had many companies, guys. Okay, over the last weekend, we had many companies coming here. Okay, so yesterday also we had a company called as Cron Labs. Okay, just there was only one company yesterday. Okay, because it was Monday morning. Okay, yesterday it was Cron Labs. Okay, and there are many upcoming batches coming. 3rd September we have a core Java batch. Okay, so if you have any friends of you trying to attend, you can just refer them. Okay, so it's by Keshav sir. Okay, it's on 3rd September. Okay, so great guys. So we're done with the session for today. Okay, and in tomorrow's session we will talk about constructor chaining. Okay, and it's very important. And mock, I'll schedule it. I'm not sure of the timings. I'll let you know. So please prepare for mock as well simultaneously. Okay, so great guys. Okay, so we shall wind up a session for today and catch up tomorrow with constructor chaining topic. Okay, so thank you all. Take care. Bye bye. Have a nice day.